Radio, B81 Radio. B81 Radio, B81 Radio.
Our Almighty God, Creator of heaven and earth, Father and lover of our soul, you sit on your throne of mercy and rule with your love and faithfulness. You are full of grace. We acknowledge your presence in our lives. Nothing is hidden in your eyes, even our challenges and struggles in life. We come to you with faith. We ask not only for our daily spiritual bread, but to seek your forgiveness and undeserving favor to heal our land, our family members, our friends and neighbors, even our enemies with COVID-19 and other diseases. Holy Spirit, help us to deepen our faith and see the opportunity to believe, obey, and worship. As we face this pandemic, you are Lord and God. Encourage us and change our hearts, not to fear, but to be full of hope and find ourselves praying and meditating your word. We believe no works of the enemy prosper to your children. Abba, Father, we believe that your Son Jesus Christ is Lord and Savior. He is the truth and our salvation. Hear our prayers, O Lord, and most of all, not our will, but thy will be done. We pray this in Jesus' name, the name above all names, who was and is to come. Amen.
Naghahatid saya sa mga Pinoy, mga kanta at programang Tatak Pinoy. Napapanood at napapakinggan kahit saan ka man. Streaming worldwide. In South Manila, this is V81 Radio.
Malayo ka man sa iyong pamilya, dito ay hindi ka nag-iisa. Tiyak ito'y iyong hahanap-hanapin, dahil ito ang nagpapasaya sa atin.
Ito ang radio mo, ito ang radio ko. B81 Radio, B81 Radio.
Dahil mahal namin kayo.
B81 Radio, B81 Radio.
Para sa inyo ito, V81 Radio. Ito ang paborito ng bawat Pilipino. Basta all hits, all Pinoy, panalo. Merong kwentong iyakan at tawanan. Kahit nasaan ka man, ito'y mapapakinggan. Oh,
B81 Radio, B81 Radio.
ito ang radio mo, ito ang radio ko.
B81 Radio, B81 Radio.
Dahil mahal namin kayo.
3-in-1 Radio. 3-in-1 Radio.
Para sa inyo ito, B81 Radio.
3-in-1 Radio.
Ito ang radio mo, ito ang radio ko.
3-in-1 Radio.
Dahil mahal namin kayo.
3-in-1 Radio. 3-in-1 Radio.
Para sa inyo ito, B81 Radio. The views and opinions expressed by the host do not necessarily state or reflect those of the company and its management. Furthermore, the views and opinions of the guests do not reflect those of the host, the show, this station, the management, and the network. Here now is the program for the millennials that will showcase young professionals' worth, aspirations, and successes in doing what they believe is right, progressive, and inclusive. Join them as they discover the path to self and societal fulfillment while making a difference. Hosted by empowered and cool millennial Erika Mison, together with her fellow millennials, they will be making a difference. Only here on V81 Radio, Manila.
Good afternoon, everyone. You are now tuned in to Making a Difference. This is a show created to inspire and motivate the youth of today. My name is Erika Mison, and I am the host of Making a Difference. So, Happy New Year, everyone. I know we took a very long holiday break, but I'm so glad to be back here on Making a Difference, and I hope everyone is doing well. I know we've been seeing on social media that everybody has been burnt out already for the first few weeks of January, but don't worry. Let's hang in there, everyone, and I hope everyone also is staying safe. I know it's alert level 3 at the moment, so let's just stay healthy, everyone, and I hope you're just all doing okay. So, just a very quick recap, since it's been a while. The last episode was last year, December, like around first week of December, and we had 3 lovely ladies on the show. We had Kyla Hernandez, so she is the founder of Abode Bakery. We also had Angela Laderas, the owner of the Flour Box, and we also have Aish Bernal, who owns Braided Berloloy. So these 3 ladies, who actually they know each other, they went to high school together, and they shared their inspiring stories and also their struggles that they went through while starting their businesses throughout the pandemic. So if you want to watch that episode together with all my other episodes, you can watch it here, whether you're watching on Facebook or on YouTube. So all my previous episodes are here on Facebook or on YouTube. You can find them later on at the end of the show. So for those of you who are new here, welcome to Making a Difference. And those of you who have been my frequent viewers since day one, thank you for continuing to support Making a Difference. I really appreciate it. So if you could share also this live to your friends and to your relatives, please do share this live so they could join in the conversation for today. So we usually have our question of the day for our viewers. So again, if you're new here, can we flash the question of the day, please? It varies per episode. So for this episode, they decided to ask this question: what are your predictions for 2022? So it can be your personal predictions. It can be very general as well. So again, for those of you who are new here, what you need to do is just type in your answers on the box below. Whether again you're watching on Facebook and on YouTube, we can see both comments, all the comments on both platforms. So all you need to do is just answer the question. It can be one sentence, it could be like a it can be like a paragraph, so that's like around 2 to 3 sentences. And I will be reading your answers at the end of the show. So again, what are your predictions for 2022? I would love to hear your thoughts on this. All right. So, without further ado, I would love to introduce our guest for today. She is the founder and CEO of BackScoop. Let us all welcome Amanda Kua. Hello, Amanda.
Hi, Erika.
Hello. Good afternoon. How are you?
I'm doing good. How are
Are
you?
you I'm good. I'm excited to talk to you. I mean, I've been telling you this a while ago. I'm so excited
Yeah.
to talk to you and like hear your story. But of course, before we dive into the conversation, let's get to know Amanda a little bit. So I have a couple of questions here. I think I have around, oh wow, okay. So there are more questions now. There are around 13 questions. But these are either or questions. So all you need to do is just pick one. No need to explain. Um, and that's it. That's basically it. So are you ready?
Yeah, let's go.
Okay. Right. So first question, are you an early bird or a night owl?
Early bird now.
Oh, now. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you prefer a night out or a night in?
Night in.
Night in. Okay. Warm or cool?
Cool.
Cool. Movies or books?
I'd have to say books. Yeah.
Okay. So if since you pick books, what is your favorite book?
My favorite book is called Young China. It's about China's millennial generation also. So
Oh,
it's
this
by
is
my favorite
interesting.
author. His name is Zach Dykewald. So if anybody wants to read that book, they should actually pick it up.
Okay, I will. I will. Sounds interesting. I want to know. I'm
Yeah.
curious. Okay. Do you prefer sweet or savory?
Savory.
Mm-hmm. What's your guilty pleasure?
My guilty pleasure is talking about the food that I like to eat and just describing it in the most detail I can.
Oh, so okay. So tip: do not talk to Amanda if you're like really, really hungry, because she's gonna make you even more
Yeah.
hungry.
Or if you don't like hearing descriptions about food.
There you go. Okay. So, do you prefer to try new things or do you prefer to stick to what works?
I think it depends on what. If it's like work related, I think I would rather try new things, but maybe in my day to day, I'd prefer to stick to what works.
Okay, got it. Book smart or street smart?
I think I was book smart for a long time. Yeah.
Okay, okay. What is your favorite ice cream flavor?
It has to be the malted milk from Carmen's Best. That one is my favorite.
Ooh, Carmen's best. Let's go. Okay,
Yep.
what's your least favorite ice cream flavor?
My least favorite ice cream flavor is when I saw a restaurant serve bacon flavored ice cream, and I knew I would
Okay.
never try that in my life.
No, it's weird. And then they have like bacon bits sometimes. Like I know
Yes, I
small
don't understand how that works with the cold ice cream. Don't get me started.
Nobody understands me. Okay. All right. Okay, what is your favorite day of the week?
Friday. Yeah, Friday.
All right. Last question. One item that you can't live without.
Okay, one item I can't live without. I'd have to say for me right now, I always like if there's anything I collect, it's like lipstick. So I would love to always have one anywhere I go in any form. Like it sounds like the strangest thing to not live without, but for me, I'm really happy to collect them, and I'm really happy that
Mhm.
like I think as a girl, right? Like if you just
Yeah.
have one makeup item, it's just like lipstick. Everything else you can do without.
Actually, you do have a point. Do you have like a favorite color or shade that you use, or is it just like any
I only
any?
like stick to like two. So one that's like a
Yeah.
light pink but sort of brown, so pink brown, and then red. So those two only.
Yeah, I know. And like for us, it's all different, right? Like the guys will
Yeah.
never understand. Like they look at it and they're just like, okay, it's the same color, but then to us it's like no,
It's like this
there's
is
a
a
difference.
this is blue red. This is like a orange red. That's totally different. This pink is too pink. Like it's hard to explain.
Sorry, guys. That's just how it works. Okay, so there you have it. That is Amanda. If you have any questions, by the way, for Amanda, or if you want her to say hi to you, if you want to take a shout out, please do use the comment section below, and we'll have her answer your questions later on. Okay, so Amanda, maybe you could share a little something about yourself, where you study, and what you're up to now.
Yeah, so a bit about me. As you mentioned earlier, I run BackScoop, and BackScoop is basically a daily, 3 times weekly newsletter on Southeast Asian tech and business. And I really love what I do because I really enjoy making it easy to let anyone stay updated what's happening in tech and business. I guarantee you can read the newsletter in like 5 minutes and know all of the top headlines and have a conversation with someone about them.
Mm.
And before this, I was also just working in tech, doing doing work at another startup. So I was the first employee at a startup here called Avian School, where I helped a lot of people start careers as software engineers by learning to code and helping them get hired. So that's a bit about me. And
Okay.
yeah, so before this, I was also working, and I didn't go to college actually. So I started working during the pandemic because I felt like it was something really exciting to do. I ended up
Mhm.
really loving the work that I did. And I realized that while college is definitely good for anyone, for me, I realized like I could make, it sounds cheesy, but I could make a difference and make an impact and help other people even while I was working.
Okay, that's interesting. Okay, I don't think I've interviewed, or actually I'm not sure if I think I've met people, but I don't think I've ever interviewed someone who hasn't um been to university. So you really have no plans like in the future to study again, or kind of do.
I think for me, I'm the type of person who likes to focus on one thing. So when I
Mhm.
was working at my last role, a lot of the things I did were just really focusing on work and every way I could, helping the students learn better what could be fixed,
Mhm.
and then helping them get hired. And it's the same thing now. Every day I just focus on, okay, what are the news I can write? How can I make it easier for our readers? I go on calls with readers, and I also do a lot of other work that needs to get done to help bring baskets for more people.
Mhm.
And for me, that's like a full-time thing. I'd rather not split my focus and do other things. Not because I don't think school is important. I definitely think that everybody, can definitely go to school and they can get a lot out of it. But for me, I'd rather take this as far as I can. And then if there's like a day where I feel like, okay, I've done a lot and I have time for school, or I want to go back, then I can go back. But for me, I'd rather just focus and do the best I can instead of having, I guess, some regret one day where, okay, I didn't get to focus on it this much because I went to school, so it didn't get so big. I think that's the way I think. Definitely, other people can juggle a lot of stuff, but that's the way I enjoy running BackScoop.
Okay, so now that we're talking about backscoop, we're gonna get to that a little later. Like
Yeah.
we're gonna show backscoop, but how did you actually start backscoop? What's the story behind it?
Yeah, so I mentioned earlier to you that I'm a big reader. I love reading news articles. I love reading about companies, even countries. So I read a lot about China and how they develop their economy and things like that. Those are the kinds of things that interested me. But I felt like they were also more than news. They're actually really interesting stories. So I enjoy being able to, talk about, for example, businesses, talking about different countries with other people.
Mhm.
And I noticed that other people don't get to share and read these stories because they don't have time. It's not convenient. Because for them, they'd have to go to the website or they'd have to follow the social media and read articles for minutes, like 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 5 minutes an article. They just don't have the time, right?
Mhm.
And I wanted to make it really easy for people to share these stories, especially about Southeast Asia, because that's where we're from. And that's why I started BackScoop, so that we could share the stories of Southeast Asia's businesses, especially in tech, which I think is really, really exciting right now, especially coming from this place where I used to work in a tech startup also.
Mhm.
And that's really why I started BackScoop, so that people can really join in on the story and see where really Southeast Asia is heading and their own, countries are headed.
Right, right. So, can you describe to us what your typical week, or I mean, okay, maybe just a day, not the whole week, but
Okay,
maybe like
typical day.
typical day, running back school.
So typical day running BackScoop, I'd wake up maybe 8 a.m. and then, get ready for work. I don't actually eat breakfast. I like eating lunch and dinner. So after I get ready, I go straight um, to work.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I set up my day that takes around 30 minutes
Uh,
um, to go through all of the tasks and just review, for example, our subscriber count and any other really important things. Then I usually start writing first. I look at the news if there's anything. Then I pick out several articles to condense. And then I do some research on the companies in every way that I can, so that when a reader reads an article on BackScoop, they don't have to really read anywhere else. They have all of the most important details, some flashbacks from the past about the company. And that takes around 1 hour or a little more to write an article. And then I do a second article later in the day. Then throughout that, I might be answering emails from subscribers, going on a few subscriber calls just to hear about their experience with BackScoop. Other times, I also like to reach out to people who could be potential subscribers, whether that's speaking with a few other company founders. And they're really, really nice. If you see the people that we write about, they might seem really high up or maybe intimidating when you read about them. But these people are really great to speak to in between. Apart from that, I also review the news again just to finish up the newsletter and add any really relevant links or interesting other companies to cover, because we basically have 2 news articles and I add like 4 to 5 helpful links for anybody to check out other companies. And then apart from that, I also sometimes have to post, for example, on social media or get some partnerships with other companies. I think that's the typical day in my life. It's mostly focused on 1, writing content, 2, engaging with the subscribers, and 3, just getting BackScoop out there and reaching more people. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. That's great. That's great. Um, since you mentioned a while ago that before back school, you used to work for a startup.
Yeah,
So
I did.
yeah, I think it helped you with backscoop, like kind of start backscoop since you kind of have a background on like startups, right? Um
Yes.
yeah. So my question here is, what surprised you about running a startup, because it's different from like working from a startup and actually running one. So do you think there's like a learning curve from the more traditional ideas about work?
I think to begin with, working at a startup versus a typical company is already very different.
Mm.
And then the second thing there is it also depends on how big the startup is. At every stage of a startup, employees' experiences will be super different. But when I was working at my last startup, I was actually the first employee. So I guess for context there, if you're the first employee, you do a lot of work across many, many different areas. You could be
Mm.
customer support at 1 p.m., at 2 p.m. You're speaking with, sales.
Yeah.
At 3 p.m., you're talking to the founders. At 4 p.m., you're doing something else. You wear like so many hats. And to the point that I feel like for some early employees, they feel very close to the founders' experiences. So people might think that, okay, if you were the first employee already at one point, it might not be too hard to start your own startup because you know how to build one from scratch. But what surprised me was that life was totally different running your own startup, even with that experience. It was still insanely hard because the one thing I think people should remember also is that if you're running your own company, and many entrepreneurs that are probably listening to this now, they would know that you would be sort of the frontliner, right? So if there's any bad feedback, if you're having problems with cash, if you're not getting the customers that you need, then you'll be the first one to see all of these problems, and that has an immense amount of stress. Um, Especially for people who might, for example, have employees, they'd also have to be that barrier for those people, right? They'd have to filter all of the feedback. They'd also have to manage all of the problems so that their employees don't get affected, right? So I think for me, what surprised me about running the startup is, I guess, the weight in all of those areas. Apart from just having the difficulty setting something up, it's just bearing that stress, and you're sort of walking on a path while you're building it at the same time, if that makes sense. And you don't know, is it left today? Is it right today? You might be moving forward every day, but on one other day, you have to realize you have to take a hard left. And you have to figure that out yourself, right?
Yeah. So, given all of this, how would you describe yourself now compared to the Amanda before BackScoop?
I think the Amanda before, I think even I would compare myself before the pandemic, actually. I think that's something we mentioned. Before the pandemic, actually, I would have never imagined myself, working in tech this much. If anything, I thought I would be maybe building something for fun, or maybe doing some small roles in tech, but I would have never imagined that I'd run my own company. I think even maybe 7 months ago, if you asked me, would you be ready to start a company now? I'd say no, right? But I think the thing there is that you realize, like, there's never a time when you'll be ready. And I think the Amanda now, as compared to the Amanda before, is somebody who doesn't wait to be ready anymore. I used to be the type of person who would like to feel things out, and I'd like to plan things, and then I take a hard leap. But now it's like I have to take the hard leap even without making all of that research, right?
Yeah. Okay. So, when did you first did you ever experience this like light bulb moment, like before starting BackScoop? Like, okay, this is what I want to do. Like, ding, okay, I had this idea. And did you ever experience that?
If anything, I think, when you think you have a light bulb idea, you think you have something revolutionary. So that might be like okay, this doesn't sound very revolutionary, but it's more of like a tech product. Like, let's say the next biggest productivity app, or the next biggest software. Like, I think that would come into your head as a light bulb idea. But then I think one of the challenges that you face earlier, especially with an idea like BackScoop, you introduce it as a newsletter. It doesn't really sound like a light bulb idea, right? If anything, it sounds like a passion project. But in fact, I think for me, the great part there is that once you start having the idea, you just keep having to build on it. And then the more you work on it, the more you love it. I think some of the really interesting stories of entrepreneurs I've read about before is that they didn't have a light bulb idea. They had one idea, they started working on it, and then they fell in love with what they were doing. Sometimes they'd even have to change the entire product or the business, but they kept, iterating on the problem, iterating on the solution. And it was just a process. And I think for me, I love the process of what I'm doing. Definitely, I felt really excited about the idea, but did I feel like it was like a Steve Jobs-esque, this is amazing moment? No. But I thought this is something fun, and I think people would really enjoy reading.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, is there any difference now? Because, okay, I know your work is online. Did you go through any challenges, especially now during the pandemic? Maybe you could share a few of them if.
Do you mean like challenges working online or setting up a business online?
Both.
For me, I came from a company that was fully remote, so I was really, really well adjusted to working remotely. So for me, I think if anyone wants to work remotely, either at a company or as an entrepreneur, I think the really important thing is to set a schedule, and that you have to be self-motivated. I think those are the main two things with working remotely. And apart from that, there are a lot of tools that are really helpful. So if people might say there's not really good communication if you don't meet face to face, But I'd argue that there's actually a lot better communication when you work remotely.
Mhm.
You can have messaging apps like Slack to communicate with your team, and it's all separated into, let's say, their different departments. Apart from that, you can have calls whenever you'd like, right? If there's an emergency, you just call your teammate.
Yeah.
If it's something bigger, it's an email. I honestly think that work is much better remote. So if anything, it's not a challenge. I think it's something that pushes people forward if they know how to work remotely. And it's not going to be the hardest thing. They just have to find the best, and they just have to find the tools that work for them, plus schedule and some motivation as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so we are gonna go on break for a couple of minutes, but when we come back, Amanda's still gonna be here and she's gonna talk more about BackScoop. So sit back and we are gonna be back after a couple of minutes.
We'll be back shortly, making a difference. Only here on V81 Radio, Manila. Get into the treasure trove of undiscovered music through Napalm, your new all-Pinoy alternative music. Whether it's rock, metal, reggae, soul, or pop, we have it covered. Napalm features upcoming Pinoy artists and musicians, hosted by Lace Jimenez and Thunder God Bernard. So sit back and relax and enjoy Napalm, only here on V81 Radio, Manila.
It's a tough business out there. So many uncertainties, operational difficulties, deadlines. We provide the solutions and services that your company needs at the best price guaranteed with our global principles. And experienced partners, we bring solutions to your current and future business. Evolution, supporting your business as always.
Now back to Making a Difference, only here on V81 Radio, Manila.
Okay, welcome back to Making a Difference. Again, my name is Erika Mison, and you are now watching Making a Difference here on V81 Radio Manila. So, right before the break, we had Amanda Kua. She is the founder and CEO of BackScoop, and we talked to her. We got to know a bit about her, and we talked to her about her life as a startup founder, and we got a couple of tips from her as well. So before we introduce Amanda, we have, of course, our question of the day. So can we flash again the question of the day? Again, for those of you who are just tuning in right now, welcome to Making a Difference, and thank you for spending your Saturdays here with me. And we usually have this question of the day flashed every week. So it depends per episode. But for this episode, the question of the day is, what are your predictions for 2022? So I want to know your thoughts. Again, it could be very general or it could be something personal. It doesn't have to be super long, but if you want to write a paragraph, that's totally fine. And I will be reading your answers at the end of the show. So if you're watching, whether on Facebook or on YouTube, you can write your answers because we can actually see them here on the side. So I've been seeing a couple of answers already, and I will be reading them later at the end of the show. So please do not forget to share this live to your friends or to your other relatives so that they can come in and join the conversation with me and Amanda. So again, I'd like to introduce our guest for today, Amanda. She is the founder and CEO of BackScoop. So hello again, Amanda. There we
Hi
go.
again, Erika.
Hello. All right. Okay. So now let's talk about BackScoop. I'm sure people are already curious. Okay, what does BackScoop? What does it look like? What do we need to do? So maybe we could flash. We actually prepared what BackScoop looks like. So if you want to check out BackScoop, you can just go to backscoop.com, and this is how the website is going to look like. Ta-da! So there. You know what? Can I just say, your website is it's straightforward, and I like it. I like how, okay, automatically, okay, I need to subscribe. I just subscribe there, and then I can see all the stories. It's very straightforward and
Yeah,
simple.
that's how we wanted it to be because people don't have
Okay.
that much time. So if you want to look at it, they have to know what it is immediately. And then if they think, okay, is this good? They just have to click an article below and then they can subscribe. You just want to make it as easy as possible.
Perfect. So it actually works. Your idea actually works, because that's what I really noticed. I was like, okay, I like this because it's there. Like, I know there's like a study about it.
Mhm.
It takes like only around 5 seconds for like a person to look at your website and like scroll down.
And then leave.
Then you have to capture their attention. Yeah, you have to capture their attention within those few seconds. I can't remember like if it was like 5 seconds or 10 seconds. So at least with Backscoop, you already know. Okay, so I need to subscribe and all. Maybe okay. So maybe you could share to the viewers like what to expect when they subscribe to Backscoop. Like, what do they need to do? Is there anything
Yeah.
else besides them sharing their email addresses?
So I guess I introduced Backscoop a little bit earlier, but in case anyone's just tuning in now, what Backscoop is a 3 times weekly newsletter. It's free and it has everything you need to stay updated on what's happening in Southeast Asian business and tech. And everything is really fun and easy to read. So let me explain a bit about that. So you just sign up on your email on the website, and after that, you'll get an email from us saying hi with a few guides on how you can expect the email. So you'll get it every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday. Then right after that, that's where it ends. All you have to do is wait for our next email, and you'll get it 3 times weekly, and that's really all you get from us. The only thing you have to do is subscribe, and then just keep reading. We want to make it really easy for you. And let's say you want to give any feedback, we're also very, very open. I think that's what makes us a bit different from other publications that are other people might be subscribed to. If you send us any email, if you like the articles, if you have some suggestions, we'll always reply, and I'll personally get back to you there. What to expect there? So every edition covers 2 big tech news in Southeast Asia, whether that is a company that raised a lot of money, and that's very, very exciting for the space. So let's say recently we covered a company called Brancas, and what they do is they basically build the software that companies like Shopee, Union Bank, and other companies use to provide services. So we cover a bit about businesses like that so that people can actually follow the story and understand. Because we know that, for example, you read an article on the news, you might not actually understand it, or you might not even have the time to finish it. So what we guarantee for you is that you have our newsletter 3 times a week. You read it in like 5 minutes, and you'll get to know really, you'll really get to know a lot about Southeast Asia in just 5 minutes, because you have those 2 feature articles on the most important news, and we'll tell you that's the most important news. And then we'll pick out maybe 4 or 5 other pieces, for example, things about tech. So what's Web 3.0? What's crypto? We'll have articles linked so you can learn about that, and a few other exciting companies and developments in the space. Then we know everyone's all about productivity, so we'll also share some productivity hacks tried and tested by us. So that's just the newsletter. In 5 minutes, you get the top news and just a little advice on how you can be more productive. And you get that 3 times a week.
Yeah, that's so cool. I will actually. I forgot. I was gonna subscribe. I'm gonna subscribe after this because
Yeah,
like I
of
want.
course.
Yeah. So why why Southeast Asia? I know you mentioned earlier that it's news covering Southeast Asia. So besides then, us being part of
Yeah.
Southeast Asia, why did you decide to focus on Southeast Asia?
I think one thing about Southeast Asian news is that the content is so spread across different sources. So you'd have to follow different people, different news agencies, check their websites, check their social media just to stay updated. And I think that is really time consuming. And add to that, you have to read all the articles, which take like 3 to 5 minutes each.
Yeah.
And the thing is, they're all relevant and high quality. They're all important news, but people don't have the time to read it. And two, sometimes they can't understand it. So, one key thing about BackScoop is it's actually fun to read. It's not the normal business news that you'd read. We explain it in an easy way. So, we'll explain, for example, what a company does and say, like, okay, this company is a buy now, pay later company. And what it allows you to do is pay for your shopping items in just 3 installments. So in the first line alone, you'd be able to understand what the company does. And then apart from that, we'll just give you a few bullet points on why the company matters, so what they've been doing, and maybe, for example, how they make money or the types of products that they have. We want to make that business news relevant to people and make that business news something people can actually speak about instead of just read and just keep in their heads, right? It's bringing the business world to everybody else to participate in also and just stay updated and really easily.
Yeah. Okay. So, how do you do? Curious question. How do you come up with the articles and like, are you the one who like writes the articles, or do you have a couple of writers with you? Like, how does that work on Backscoop's end?
Yeah, I think, sorry, I might have skipped over your earlier question about why Southeast Asia. So let
Yeah.
me answer that really quickly. So for me, apart from us, all being from Southeast Asia, I think Southeast Asia is a very, very special place for startups. People might think it's just an emerging startup space, like let's say how Africa is emerging, their startup economy is building, or Latin America is. But what's different about Southeast Asia is that the whole region is really, really powerful as a whole. So if you look at the companies here, they're actually going to go to um, the economy here will actually have a really, really high valuation once you have all of these set up, these businesses, once you have all of these people and these economies setting up the foundations of Southeast Asia. So if you look at the problems that we're solving in startups here, we're solving very, very foundational problems. So for example, you're trying to solve how do people accept payments? How do people get a better education online? How do people do ride hailing, food delivery, and all these other things? So you might think Southeast Asia is behind and it's just emerging. But the thing is, once these things, this foundational layer is done, Southeast Asia will be very, very powerful. Um, so, for example, you might think like China and India are the next global powerhouses or the current global powerhouses apart from the US. I would believe that Southeast Asia is the next one. And that's really, really special to me. And it's very relevant to the rest of the world. It's not that we're just emerging, it's that we're emerging. And once this is all settled, once these foundational problems are done, we're actually going to be a very, very important player globally.
Yeah.
And I guess lastly is that, I think it's just really interesting to see the kinds of problems that they solve now. So as I said, it's how do you improve education? How do you get better jobs? How do you shop online? These are problems that change people's lives and are part of, like, for example, both of our lives. Like you have online banking now, right?
Yeah.
And it's just core to who we are. It's not like, for example, in the US, they have going to outer space. They have self-driving cars. I don't think that's as relevant to you and me. But we're hitting a point where the companies that we're talking about now are not only going to be game changers for Southeast Asia, but are doing things really close to our hearts and that can actually change our lives. And I think that's really interesting.
Yeah, I know. It's great to hear that from from a different perspective. Because I never, well, personally, I agree though. I agree with everything that you've been saying. Like when you were explaining everything, I started thinking, okay, that makes so much sense because a lot of the apps that we use now have been developed in Southeast Asian countries, right? It's
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So okay, it's great to see that from that perspective. Thank you so much for sharing that. Like I really enjoyed that part. So like so I guess that's that's why it's great that you're covering news from Southeast Asia. But my question here is why did you decide to focus on tech and business? Is there a reason behind that?
Yeah, because for me, I worked in the startup space, right? So I see all of these really game-changing companies. So in my last role, I worked with a lot of these companies have partnerships to hire engineers. And in meeting with all of these companies from all over Southeast Asia, I see the different kinds of tech, the different kinds of products that they're building. And that's why I got really interested. It's because before, maybe you'd think um, you'd get services, for example, from a company in the US, or you'd rely on, let's say, going to the bank instead of doing it online, and all these other things. I think what's interesting about tech stories in Southeast Asia is because it's the things that will bring us forward, and really change a lot. Obviously, there are lots of other interesting businesses that are not powered by tech, but I think it's the tech startups that will really be pushing us forward. Because what's core, I guess, to a startup is that a startup has to grow really fast. And that means tech startups, if they're done well, they'll make a lot of impact. And I think that's why they matter the most, because these are the companies that will really change the landscape. Um, for example, now I'm sure both of us use online banking. We both probably have tried trading stocks online through our phones. Those are things we've never done before and only made possible and more convenient by tech startups. Maybe some more traditional companies have tried it, but I think startups have the special ability to make everything more convenient, faster, and they're just designed to work fast. So I think the improvements are also going to be seen much, much faster as well.
Okay.
And I guess lastly, it's like the people who build these startups are also very, very interesting. Covering them and covering their stories. If you look into them and the things that they've been building, it's just a great story of not just companies but of people. So I think that's really why I enjoy tech startup stories.
Okay, yeah. That was actually going to be my next question. Like, what about these stories? Like, what catches your attention? Like, every time you hear about these companies and these individuals. So, I guess it's just really, you know, it's their own stories that makes it so interesting. Um, yeah. So, as a startup founder and CEO, how do you usually manage your workload? Maybe you could share some insights. There may be people here who are starting a company as well, or maybe they're having struggles also managing. So how do you manage everything as founder and CEO?
Yeah, so right now, as a very, very early stage startup, I have to do all of the work. So I think earlier you asked if I write all the content. Yes, I write everything there myself. Um, so all of the articles are written by me. All the topics are hand selected by me as well. So I think the challenge with productivity is really being able to be motivated. I mentioned this earlier. It's more than just saying like, oh, I'm gonna go work today. It's okay, I'm gonna work today and do these things because these things are the things that will move my business. A lot of people might be distracted by, let's say, checking how many likes they have on Facebook for their page, or they might be distracted by some calls with potential customers, but these potential customers always like are almost close to a yes, but they always ask for, oh, can you add this thing, or oh, it could be better if blank. While they might actually be useful in the end, a really important thing is being able to say no to these things and focus on what's critical to the business. For example, what are the things that I can do today or this week that will help me get more subscribers? Or what are the other things that I can do this week that will help me save more time? Those are the things I have to think about. It's always having to be your own internal compass and looking at the main metrics of the business. And I think that's something that everybody has to learn how to do. It was definitely very hard for me. And only once I started getting the sense of that is when I was able to be more productive. Because I would have, okay, this is the schedule I have to work on XYZ things because these are the most important things for the business. I can't just go to my laptop and just look at what's there, right?
Yeah.
And apart from that, it's putting in the work when it's really, really hard. So you can't just do like 8 to 5 or 8 to 4. You have to do like 8 to 8 on some days. And you have to really tell yourself, look, I have to do this because I'm the only one working on this right now.
Yeah.
And things like that. So it's a mix of having your priorities that are really aligned to the outcomes of your business and having the motivation to stick it all out, even when it's just you, especially for people just starting up the business now.
Right. Yeah. So since you mentioned that you are the one who writes the newsletters, how do you come up with the content that you're gonna write? Do you plan it out, or does it really depend? I know, like, it may depend also on the changes, especially now. Like, there's so much changes happening because of COVID. So how do you usually plan out your content? Actually, this is just a curious question. This is like from me.
Yeah, of course. So I think for us, the key things about BackScoop art is that one, it's easy to read, so it's understandable for anyone, whether you're the founder of the company, you're an executive of a multi-million dollar company, or even multi-billion dollar company, or you're a venture capitalist, investor, or even just an intern, or even at the very least, just someone interested in tech. For all these kinds of people, we make sure BackScoop is easy to understand for all of them, with all of the relevant information for each and every one of them. So we make sure that's really, really easy to read. The second thing is that everything is up to date. And for that reason, I actually look at all of the news that's happening throughout the day. So I always have to keep a watch out on all the news sites, all of the developing trends that you might not even see on the news. Apart from that, I have to do deep dives on some companies, deep dives on some industries as well. So I have to look at, okay, what's the most relevant news? What's the latest news that happened today? And then I have to go on and really quickly research and write about it. So I don't plan out things earlier on. I actually write it just the day before releasing. So if anyone's wondering, yes, you're guaranteed the latest news.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it really does take so much work. No? So what are the challenges that you face as a startup owner?
I think the challenge that you face there is what I mentioned earlier. It's like especially when you start a startup, and if you're a solo founder like me, it's that you have to really be accountable for yourself. At the end of the day, there will be people, and I've had really great people around me advise the company and help me. And they might be asking you questions about your progress. They might even give you advice. They might tell you, oh, I think you're looking at the wrong metric, or, oh, can't you do this faster? At the end of the day, you have to choose to listen to them or not. And sometimes the difficulty there is making your own call, because you don't know who's right and who's wrong. And sometimes you will be the one who's wrong, and you have to really take accountability for that. And the challenge there is, you have to continue pushing the metrics of, okay, how many subscribers do you have, or how much revenue do you have, and all these other things, while making a lot of decisions along the way. And you'll be the one accountable to making those decisions. And unlike a company, let's say, the companies that a lot of people might work at, let's say bigger companies like Globe, Union Bank, and all these other things, a startup is fundamentally different because it's very, very small. And you have a very limited amount of funding for every few months. So while most corporations, they might say, okay, we're alive, startups are actually never, I guess, like, you can call them default dead. If you don't move this week, if you don't make any progress, then you're just stuck there. Things will not run at all. And I think that's the struggle, is because if you don't have yourself together, if you're not making the progress, then nothing's going to move at all. Unlike if you work at a bigger company, you'll have people to delegate to, or you already have customers, or you already have a set amount of money to work with as compared to a startup.
Okay. How do you actually define a startup?
So actually, I think one of the ways you can define a startup is this. So this is from Paul Graham, who is the founder of Y Combinator, which is one of the world's biggest startup accelerators. So a few companies there from Y Combinator that you might know are Airbnb, DoorDash, Twitch, and Reddit. So those are companies that were built with Y Combinator. And the way he describes a startup is that startups equal growth. So people might think any company can be a startup, but I don't think that's true. A startup has to be a company that grows fast. And that's why you see all of these amazing stories of startups here in the Philippines and beyond that raise a lot of money. And then you see that, okay, they've only been around for 2 years, but they have 100,000 paying customers. They've earned $1 million in revenue already. And you only have these surprising news and surprising figures because a startup is only a startup if it grows really fast. And I think that's one of the most stressful things about running a startup, is because you have to always put yourself in a position where you keep pushing and keep building momentum.
Right, right. Okay. We have a question here by one of the viewers, by Victor Rivera. Maybe we can flash that. All right. Who are the key people that have helped you become the founder you are today? Oh, so who are your
Yeah,
go
well,
to?
I think for me, the key people who helped me be the founder I am today are one, the people I worked with. So I used to work at Avian School, which is a Y Combinator back company in the Philippines. It's one of it was, I think, the third to be backed by Y Combinator in the Philippines at the time, which is a really big deal because it's actually a US-based accelerator. And the people who helped me be the founder I am today are actually Victor. So Victor is actually very, very helpful to me in building BackScoop. He's been there to support me. For example, when I was just starting out, building out the idea, and even when the times where, for example, I am caught between a few roadblocks and do I have to go left or right? Sometimes he's the one I ask when I'm stuck on something. And I think having that support is really good. My family and friends have also been really helpful to me, because apart from having support in the business and business decisions, setting it up, having family and friends there is really, really, really helpful for me. They're there to share your Facebook posts. They're there to ask their friends to check it out. And they're also there to give you feedback, right, on if you're going the right way or not. And sometimes the feedback is helpful, sometimes it's not helpful. But regardless, they're always there to support you. And I think that's been really helpful, because being a startup founder, I think, is really hard in multiple ways. So one, in the business sense, when you have to learn what to do. And as I said, it's like you're walking while you're building the road. And on the same side, all of the stress there is really, really tough to bear. So having family and friends there to support you in little ways and to just be excited about what you're doing is really helpful. So I'd say, again, like Victor has been really helpful in helping me be the founder I am today. And, if anybody wants to check what he's building out, I think it's a really, really exciting thing as well. So he builds Avian School, which is a school that helps Filipinos become software engineers. And you actually don't need to pay until you're hired. So that's a really, really interesting thing for anyone to check out if they want to start a career in tech. He and his co-founder, John, are really great and have been really helpful as I was starting BackScoop, and even in just being really great people to work with when I was working with them at Avian School.
Yeah. Okay. So definitely check them out, you guys. Thank you so much, Victor, for that question. So if you have any other questions for Amanda, please feel free to comment them down below and we'll have her answer your questions. So, Amanda, what makes running BackScoop worthwhile?
Yeah. So running BackScoop, I find it worthwhile, especially because of the subscribers. It sounds really cheesy, but then you have all of these people coming in and reading. So whether that's the person who emails me and says, "Oh, this is really interesting. Now I'm going to download this," or "Now I'm gonna check their product out," or whether it's somebody who says, "Thank you for writing this because now I'm actually learning about the companies I want to work at in the future," or whether it's people who I don't even know. Let's say I'm in the Philippines and they're all the way in, let's say, Vietnam, and then I see that they're reading, and these are people who are actually executives of top companies. You have all of these different people who are really reading and they really love the content, and that's, I think, the most motivating for me. And apart from that, I I really love being able to shed light on the stories. So as I said, it's more than just talking about a business. It's more than talking about how they raise how many millions of dollars. It's about what are the things that they're building that are going to change people's lives, and who are these people who are building it, so that people can actually learn about them and their stories. I just love seeing that and just seeing the startup space grow. Every article I write makes me more excited.
That's great. That's super great to hear. So we are gonna go on another quick break, but when we come back, we're still gonna have Amanda here at the show. So again, if you have any questions for her, please do feel free to comment them down below, and we are gonna see you after a couple of minutes.
We'll be back shortly, making a difference. Only here on V81 Radio, Manila.
Big Media is all about life's journey.
Yung mga yun, mga bata pa sila dati nung nakakasama ko sila. So ngayon, sikat na sila. Kaya
In digital, entertainment,
maraming salamat po na nabigyan nyo kami ng opportunity.
information, story, inspiration, and experiences. Whenever, wherever you want, welcome. Join us as we push the boundaries of possibility here with Big Media.
Welcome to Pride and Proud Asia, Asia's first online radio show that champions LGBT contribution and leadership in business and in our country and the region. Hosted by the Philippine LGBT Chamber of Commerce, visibility, representation, and empowerment. This is Pride and Proud Asia. Happy Pride!
Welcome to the program that amplifies and builds power in its network, linking you and your company to business communities while highlighting your persona, products, practice. Talk Shop Asia Power Network, now on its season 2, hosted by Organizational Development Network champion Maricar Sandalo, direct selling sensei Jojo Barakias, and ASEAN EduTech leader Dr. Alex Reyes, with the founding anchor, business and transformation mentor Rolly Pagaspas. Brought to you by Direct Selling Association of the Philippines, Union Bank Global Linker, ASEAN Youth Organization, and Rotary Club of Alabang Madrigal Business Park, engaging you with CEO talks, community mind, feature shops, and the variety of them. Talk Shop Asia Power Network, Power Drop, your network here to talk.
Now back to Making a Difference. Only here on V81 Radio, Manila.
All right, so welcome back to Making a Difference. For this episode, we have Amanda Kua, who is the CEO and founder of BackScoop. And just before the break, she was talking about she introduced BackScoop, and we got to see how it looks like, which, by the way, please don't forget to subscribe to BackScoop. You can check them out at backscoop.com. And she's still here, so if you have any questions for her, please do feel free to ask. Just type in your questions below. And also, we still have our question of the day. So if you have not answered this question, you still have time. Maybe flash the question, please. Our question of the day is, there you go. What are your predictions for 2022? Again, it could be personal, it could be general. It's really up to you how you want to answer this questions. I want to know your thoughts, and I will be reading your answers at the end of the show. So I'd like to call back on Amanda again to talk a bit more about BackScoop. There you go. Hello, Amanda. How are you? Are you
Hello,
so
Erika.
okay? All right. So, after everything you've done, is there one thing that you are most proud of?
In terms of backscoop
Yeah,
or in terms of everything?
or in
Okay.
general.
I think one of the things I'm most proud of is, just doing something that I myself in the past wouldn't have thought I would do. It sounds really cheesy again, but I was the type of person who always had a plan. So, for example, okay, I'm going to work at this startup for a while and then I'll grow until maybe X level or I'll move to another one. So, in about 4 to 5 years, I can be ready to start my own. I was the kind of person who always had a plan. And if there's something I'm most proud of, is that you don't want to have confidence in just a plan. You want to have confidence in yourself to be able to do something, right? I think for me, I'm really glad that I've been able to become somebody who can just take the leap and tell myself, okay, I'm going to do this and I'm going to work as hard as I can to make this happen and stick to that. I'm really proud that I'm able to stick to my word there. And through the whole time I've been building BackScoop, that's what I always remember. When I told myself that, and of course my family who've been very, very supportive of me, that, okay, I'm not going to go back to school. I'm going to continue working and I'm going to continue building BackScoop. And I'm proud that I didn't go back on my word there. And since then, I remember I told them, if this doesn't go anywhere by the end of the year, you guys are allowed to tell me that I was wrong. You can tell me I told you so.
Okay.
And before that year ended, we got some funding, which was a big win for us. And I think it's in being able to be accountable for yourself and giving yourself big goals and letting yourself take the leap without that plan, that I'm really proud of.
Yeah. So since you mentioned your family, like how have they been supporting you? Like I'm also curious. I wanted to ask you this a while ago and I just remembered it again now. Like I know you Amanda here has not been to college, has not been to university. She decided to push with working and starting BackScoop. So like how has your family helped you really build up this venture of yours?
I think I'm really thankful to them myself because I think growing up, I was always the kind of person or the kind of daughter who would have a lot of big dreams. So I told them, look, I have really good grades. I would go to all of these extracurricular events. And then I told them, look, when I graduate, I'm going to go to study overseas at a top university. And then, they were really gunning for that. They're really excited. And I know they made a lot of sacrifices to make that, help me make that dream happen. And then during the pandemic, going to study abroad was really hard to do because it didn't really make sense because you'd end up on the computer anyway. And I started going to work. And I think as a parent, it's really hard to see, that kind of dream or life change. And for me, I'm really thankful that they've been able to accept, I guess, the kind of life that I want now and the new dreams that I have. And I think, more than just saying, okay, that's fine, go do it. My parents have been really going above and beyond. So when I was working, they would share a lot of the posts that I would create. I did marketing, a little bit of marketing as one of my roles. They would share the posts about the students. They'd actually speak about it with their friends and family. So even when I was just working, they were very, very supportive. And then when I started BackScoop, they were some of the people who would bring in a lot of subscribers early on. I remember my parents would message a lot of their friends and ask them to subscribe. And they're really just trying every way they can. Even my younger sister, who, she's studying, she has all the other things that she can care about. She doesn't even need to care about tech or business. She would share her own suggestions. She'd actually open the newsletter constantly, even if she doesn't have to do that, right?
Yeah.
And then all of my other family members, no matter how near or far they are, I know they open the newsletter. I know they share the posts. They keep liking the posts on our Facebook page, and they just help in every way that they can. And I know that not all of them might understand like what I'm really doing. Um, Especially for those who are a bit older, they don't really know as much as tech. But regardless of everything, they've been very, very supportive. And I think a lot of them are also watching right now. And I think that says a lot about them.
Hello to Amanda's family. Thank you so much for supporting Amanda. And, I'm sure they're going to really support you like till the end. That's what families are for talaga. They really just push you and they help you achieve your dreams. And it's great. It's great to hear that your family, your parents and your sister, they're just like right there helping you out, and it's really great to hear. So hello to Amanda's family. Thank you for watching. Okay, so how do you I want to ask you this question. How do you see startups really fitting into the world, especially now with COVID happening? Um will the changes in our lifestyle now, do you think it will like benefit or hurt the startups? Like what's your opinion on that?
I think the most interesting thing to take note of is COVID happened in 2020. And starting
Yeah.
2020, until up until now, we've had so many unicorn, meaning billion-dollar companies, come out of Southeast Asia um, in those few years. I've already lost count, but we already have like 20, 30 plus maybe by now. When before there'd be just so few. There've been a record number. Like I remember at one point in BackScoop, I was writing about a billion-dollar company
Mhm.
every week for how many weeks. So it
Wow.
just shows how fast these companies are growing starting the COVID pandemic. And I think the pandemic has actually helped push these startups to really grow, because there has been no other time that there have been so many billion-dollar companies being churned out of Southeast Asia.
Mhm. Okay, all right. So um okay, what's your dream for Backscoop? Like, do you have like an ultimate goal for Backscoop?
For me, I guess the ultimate goal, and this is me thinking really, really big here, is that everybody would have BackScoop on their phone to look for news. Whether
Okay.
that's startup news, whether that is entertainment news, whether it's you're looking for a recipe to write about, to read about. Whether you want to find a recipe to cook for later, or whether you want to find a cool video on YouTube and you want some recommendations, like you just turn to BackScoop for everything. Because what we really want is, for one, all of the content to be super personalized for everyone. So I know that everybody who's reading the newsletter, if they're into tech, they'll like what I'm writing. And I want to expand that to all of the other areas of media. And the second thing is that, apart from having personalized content, we want everything to be super digestible. So the same way we take information that might have taken 10 or maybe 15 minutes to read, in total, we make it really, really short. Maybe it can be one article can be read in some maybe 2 minutes or less. We want to take that experience to every other kind of news and content for everybody else. So hopefully, in a few years, everybody in Southeast Asia will have BackScoop on their phones, whether that's the newsletter or something else, and they'll turn to that to source the best content for all of their interests.
Definitely. I would love to see that happen. I'm so excited for you. Do you have any message to the viewers? Maybe we have people here who are thinking of starting their own thing. Maybe you have like a very quick message for them.
Yeah. So if you're starting the new year, honestly, it doesn't have to be new year. At any point in the year, you can start changing your life. You can start changing a lot of things. For example, in early 2020, in, let's say, I think May. In May 2020, I graduated from high school. In July 2020, I started working at a startup. And now it's January 15, 2022. Almost 2 years from then, I'm actually running my own startup now, right? So it actually shows that a lot of things can change. And I want people to just be open to any change that happens and take even the worst things that happen to them and make it the best thing that happened to them. Because for me, when I was graduating high school and I didn't study abroad at first, I thought, okay, what is going to happen to my life? But then when I started opening myself to a lot of new opportunities, like working at startups again, because I had a little previous experience working a bit at another startup before, but taking a full-time job there, that was very strange and a big leap for me.
Yep.
But look where it led me to now. I'm really enjoying the things that I'm doing now, and I don't think that I'd be this happy if I were stuck in college doing math or exams, right? I feel like
Yeah.
I'm really making some kind of impact and really helping other people, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So before we let you go, we also ask our guest for today to answer our question of the day. So can we flash that one more time, please? So again, for those of you who have not answered this question yet, all you need to do is just type in your answers below, whether you're watching from Facebook or on YouTube. So Amanda, for you, what are your predictions for 2022? Again, it can be in general, or if you have any predictions for like tech, that would be great. So any, could be any.
General predictions for tech. Indonesia is probably the most established startup ecosystem in Southeast Asia. My prediction for 2022 is that countries like the Philippines, Malaysia, and maybe even Vietnam will be very, very, very important this year. We'll see a lot of really interesting companies get funded by global accelerators and global investors in those spaces. I think that's something to watch out for. Apart from that, there are going to be a lot more companies that are going to pop out, and companies that you should actually be very, very open to trying. I think a lot of us are resistant to change, but I think this is the year where people will really integrate themselves further with the apps and the tech that other startups are providing now. Because maybe last or 2 years ago, those startups just started. Now their products are much more established. They have been taking them to other regions. So maybe instead of using let's say an investing app from the US, maybe this year is the year you try out one from Indonesia, or one from Singapore, or one from even Malaysia, right? I think cross-border technology and products from all over Southeast Asia might be a lot more relevant to us today and this year.
Okay, thank you so much, Amanda, for sharing your predictions for 2022. Is there anyone you want to say hi to, or like give your personal shout out to? I give you the floor before we let you go.
Yeah, well, I just want to say hi to my family and all of my friends who are supporting this live stream. I saw a few of them comment also. So Hannah and Victor are here. I wanted to say hi to them, and of course, again, my family, I think they're watching in the other room, and my grandparents. Even though I don't think they get to really read the newsletter, I know they're watching from Davao and maybe Laguna too. So thank you for watching, and I really appreciate all of the support from all of you guys.
All right. So thank you so much, Amanda, for being here on Making a Difference and sharing your story about BackScoop. Guys, again, don't forget to subscribe to BackScoop. All you need to do is just go to their website. That's backscoop.com. There you go. And just type in your email address and you will get newsletters 3 times a week, written by the one and only Amanda, the all around Amanda. So, Amanda, thank you so much, and I'll talk to you soon. Take care,
Thank
Amanda.
you, Erika. Take care as
Thank-
well. Thank you so much for this. I really enjoyed.
Thank you. Bye, Amanda.
Bye.
All right. So again, that was Amanda Kua, the CEO and founder of BackScoop. So amazing story, amazing idea. It's really cool, and it's really great that we got to that we got to talk to her about insights about startups and like the whole tech industry. I know maybe there's some of you who are interested about it. So I highly suggest you subscribe to BackScoop so that you can learn more about the South, what's happening here, especially in the Southeast Asian countries. So before we end the show, of course, we still have to read our answers from the question of the day. So let's flash that question of the day one more time. Maybe may mga pahabol dyan. Ayan, what are your predictions for 2022? Again, it could be general or it could be a personal thing, but we do have a couple of answers here today. We have Tabawan Bongao, the prediction for 2022. Back to school face-to-face classes in all levels. So hopefully that will happen. Hopefully. I know there are some students here who do prefer face-to-face classes. So that would be great. We also have here from Noel Sophia. Her 2022 predictions are that this year will be more focused on overcoming the pandemic and moving forward into the new normal. I think that's what we're all waiting for, no? To really move into the new normal. I know there are here we go. Okay, so for MM Mercado, and I'm really back back reading here. Hello po, Miss Erika, and to everyone. My prediction for this year is to have a male president. Okay, right. Elections are coming in very, very soon. And then we have, of course, Christian Clemente. Christian, hello. Thanks for watching. My prediction, COVID will be over in 2022. Hopefully. And then we also have Linda Reventar watching now. Happy New Year. COVID will disappear in 2022. My prayers. I think may isa pang comment. Okay, we also have one last comment. A new one, pahabol. Hannah Manuel, personal predictions or hopes for 2022. Stepping foot on campus for the first time. Oh my gulay, there are really some students who have not seen their own campuses. So I hope you all get to see your campuses this year. That would be amazing. So again, thank you all so much for tuning in today and for answering the questions. The question of the day. And I hope you're all doing well and staying safe. So we are gonna be here again next week for another exciting episode. Please don't forget to follow Making a Difference here on Facebook. Again, if you want to watch my other episodes, you can find it here on Facebook or also on V81 Radio Manila's YouTube channel. So again, thank you all so much. I will see you here same time, same place next Saturday. Bye everyone and stay safe.
The program for the millennials that will showcase young professionals' worth, aspirations, and successes in doing what they believe is right, progressive, and inclusive. Making a difference. Making a difference. Join them as they discover the path to self and societal fulfillment while making a difference. Hosted by empowered and cool millennial Erika Mison. Together with her cool millennials, they will be making a difference. Every Saturday, 1 p.m. Philippine time. Only here on V81 Radio, Manila. Tunog Pinoy, Tatak Pinoy, your all hits, all Pinoy digital radio station in South Manila. This is V81 Radio.
Ito ang paborito ng bawat Pilipino. Basta all hits, all Pinoy, panalo. Merong kwentong iyakan at tawanan. Kahit nasaan ka man, ito'y mapapakinggan. V81 Radio, V81 Radio. Ito ang radio mo, ito ang radio mo. V81 Radio, V81 Radio. Dahil mahal namin kayo. V81 Radio, V81 Radio. Para sa inyo ito, EP81 Radio.